Hello, everyone. It's Heather Lee Cameron again. I want to talk about something that I studied in church today. I want to talk about Genesis chapter 3. In verse 1, it says, "Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden." You know what? I take this as we are selective about who we see as a child of God. Why are we so selective? Because we're afraid. We let fear overrule our faith and our good judgment and our want to be kind to everybody. But we should and we may and we are invited to see all as a child of God. We're of infinite worth. We cannot and should not be afraid to see all as infinite worth. It may not be easy, but we are invited, just like Adam and Eve were invited to eat of all the trees in the Garden of Eden freely. We are invited to eat of the fruit of love freely and train ourselves to find it as good, to the point where we can encourage others in the ways of it. We are invited to eat of the fruit of love, that we might build up a desire for it and a desire to share it, that all might become loving individuals. We cannot and should not be afraid to build up a desire to love and teach others to love by showing that love is okay. Like, it's a very hateful world right now. There's so much hate. There's so much death. There's so much pain and depression and sorrow. There's literally no reason to be happy and every reason to be miserable. But this is why we need love. Love is a medicine that we all need. Caring is a medicine that we all need. Compassion is a medicine that we all need. And we all need to acknowledge each other's presence and right to have space on this earth. We all have a right to have space on this earth, and I'm quite happy to see everybody who is coming together and saying, hey, we have a right to space on this earth. Coming together in the name of peace, coming together in the name of unity, coming together in the name of raising voices and saying, we care about life, we care about unity, we care about having voices matter. We care. People that come together in the name of care, in the name of unity, in the name of having voices matter, in the name of speaking out, that care means something. It's great. I mean, so many people are mistreated just because they are hard to understand, just because people lack compassion. So many die, so many suffer, so many have griefs, just because people lack compassion. We need to beware that we don't fall into the trap that it is to lose our good self in the mess that life is right now. We cannot and should not be afraid to stand tall and let our compassionate self thrive in these very difficult times, because I read on the news every day that something new, something terrible is happening in the world. And all these people are becoming sorrowful, angry, tired. They're rallying together to speak out against it. And despite all the bad things happening, we can still be inherently good people, and we need to be unafraid to share our voices and share our hearts in a peaceable way, but in a passionate way. We can be peaceful and passionate and truly care about life. We can see ourselves as valuable and worthy of space. We can see others as valuable and worthy of space. We can train ourselves to find life as worthy of living. We can train ourselves to see joy in any circumstances. We can see joy in any circumstances. We can train ourselves to find lessons, even in the darkest of moments. We don't have to behave ignorantly just because other people may be doing it, just because circumstances may be god-awful. We don't have to trap ourselves in a mindset that is dark just because circumstances may be dark, just because people may make dark choices that cause great harm. We don't have to partake of the bad fruit that will make us wise to how much ignorance really hurts. Like Adam and Eve, they partook of fruit that really made them wise to everything, including pain. We can be mindful of pain without having to partake in pain or painful behavior. We cannot and should not be afraid to approach circumstances in a peaceful way, in a kind way, in a positive way. If we allow ourselves to touch darkness, if we allow ourselves to just descend into darkness, if we touch ignorance, if we touch darkness, we will slowly lose ourselves to it, because darkness is seductive, darkness is comfortable, but comfortable isn't intended to help us. Comfortable is intended to break us. Comfortable is not a good thing. Comfortable is just wasteful. Being comfortable is being ignorant. And ignorance is wasting away in darkness. Bad things are going on that we need to be aware of, but we don't have to let them destroy us, even though we are aware of them. We cannot and should not be afraid to be aware of things and not let them break us. We can find and learn things, even in dark circumstances. Ignorance will slowly kill us from the inside out, because we will come to care about nothing. And it may be hard for us to care and see all the bad going on around us. But we must not forget to care, because if we develop an apathy, if we develop an apathy to what's going on around us, because it doesn't affect us, because we don't have the energy, because we don't have the desire to do anything but hide in our cold little corner of the universe and just pretend that the bad things will go away if we just ignore them, then they are going to eventually affect us personally. And there is a poem by Martin Niemöller that I'm going to bring up. Have you ever heard of him? We're going to look at this Martin Niemöller quote. First they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. You know what? Ignorance kills. So when bad things are happening, we don't need to partake of the fruit of ignorance and allow ourselves to be in the darkness and hide in our cold little corner of the universe. We shall eat of every tree of the garden and allow ourselves to be aware of what is going on. Because everything will eventually affect us directly. If not emotionally. Like when something happens, we need to be aware of it. Because everything that affects one spot will eventually affect another spot. It is like a virus. Every event in the world is like a virus. And it will spread across the earth and hurt one and then all. So when we see something happening, we need to say something. We don't need to be selective about what we care about. If we care about something when we see it happening, we need to say something, and we need to have empathy and compassion when we see something happening that we do not like. We need to see all as worthy of our love and worthy of our compassion, and we cannot and should not be afraid to stand tall and train ourselves to stand up and speak out when something that happens isn't okay with us. We really cannot be afraid to speak out when we are scared of things. Even if there's consequences to speaking out, we shouldn't get just all riled up and start being violent protesters, because there's really no point to that, because that affects people's livelihoods, and we need to care about people's livelihoods. We really do. But we can use our voices in a peaceful but productive way to speak up about that which we care about. And ignorance kills, so we don't need to thrive on ignorance. We can care about whatever we want as long as we don't lose our minds about it. As a person with a disability, I'm from a marginalized community. And we're going through a bit right now up here where I live in Alberta. And I'm pretty sure people with disabilities and people in other marginalized communities are going through some stuff too. But people with disabilities in Alberta are having their finances messed with. And things are affecting their quality of life. And it's just getting very hard. And instead of hiding and just sitting and watching it happen, we're rising up. But we're using our words. We're meeting together. We're communicating about it. We're saying that this isn't okay and that we have a right to speak about it. We are establishing our right to space on the earth. We are establishing our right to space in the world, because to a lot of neurotypical or non-disabled people, we don't have a right to breathe. We don't have a right to inhabit space on the earth. We're just ignorant wastes of space that are just really having no purpose in life. But people with disabilities do have a purpose in life. Sadly, society doesn't expect much from us. I can personally say that, at 3 years old, my family doctor wanted my mom to put me in a group home because I was disabled, and raising a child with disabilities would, in his words, be difficult. But my mom, she saw me as what? I truly am, a gift and a treasure. people with disabilities are gifts and treasures. We are creations of God, just like everybody else. We are a tree in God's garden. We are joy. We are treasures of the earth. And, we have right to space on this earth. We have rights to decent, happy, productive lifestyles, just like everybody else. But, because we have limited capacities in some things, because of our challenges, because we learn differently, because life is somewhat of an adventure for a lot of us, the typical society thinks we're nothing more than burdens. And we are just, we can't be afraid to exceed the expectations placed on us by society and actually have opinions about things. The world sees us with eyes that judge us every day as being incapable of being anything of value. The Lord sees us as gifts. You see, the eyes and opinions of the Lord and the world are different. God and Christ don't look down on the capacities of people with disabilities. They see us as a beautiful tree in the garden of God that's worthy of compassion and worthy of doing whatever they can to thrive. But the world doesn't give us too much value. And they do whatever they can to remind us of our place, including diminishing our ability to thrive, even though we have a right to thrive. Like, as I said, people without disabilities diminish us. They don't see us as having worth. They don't see us as having value. So they diminish us however they can in an attempt to break us, that we might forget to love ourselves, that we might not love ourselves, that we might just want to cease existing. And we shouldn't want to cease existing. I mean, disabilities are not burdens. They're not inabilities. It just means we learn differently. We cannot and should not be afraid to learn differently. We cannot and should not be afraid to thrive despite the expectations that neurotypicals have that we don't. People with disabilities, which includes myself, because I have ADHD and nonverbal learning disorder and endometriosis. We have the right to live. We have a right to thrive. We have a right to be part of God's garden. We don't have the right to just give up and hide away, even though the world would have us hide away and pretend we don't exist. We are very much part of God's world. We were created with God's hands. We were made from the dust of the earth, just like everybody else. We are children of God. We are part of His garden. We have a right to thrive. We are worthy of love. We have a right to be encouraged. We are definitely worth more than the government or people without disabilities see us as. I mean, it's truly not fair that political entities or those without disabilities constantly strive to diminish our worth and our ability to thrive as we are, because disabilities a lot of them can't be cured. A lot of them can't be cured no matter what the science says. They can't be cured, and nor would I ask mine to be cured personally, even if there was a chance that they could be, because I believe that having my disabilities helps me to be a good teacher. Having my disabilities allows me to teach others patience, compassion, empathy, kindness, and it allows me to realize that I'm unique, I'm valuable. Even though I struggle in some things, I still have value, and that I have a right to live and thrive uniquely, and that I am a gift. Like, there were times, of course, where I was depressed about being different, that I was angry that I didn't fit in, that I endured a lot of bullying, and I mean, a lot of bullying. Like a crap ton of bullying. People would constantly tell me that I wasn't welcome in their space, I didn't deserve to be alive, I was just truly mocked and called just a stalker for just wanting to have friends. But I relied on the Lord to remind me that I was of worth, and the few people that actually stayed in my corner. I did not partake of the fruit of the ignorance that people threw at me. I cared about trying to allow myself the grace and the permission to thrive. I didn't let the ignorance of others kill me or stop me from trying to thrive, and I still don't. I mean, there is still a crap ton of negative energy out there from people who try to stop me from living and being part of God's garden. There's still a crap ton, and I'm 38 years old, so I've been getting this all my life. But I've come to be more comfortable with myself and who I am. And inside, I know I'm not going to be cured of these disabilities. I'm really not. But I'm not going to let the negative opinions of others, the shunning, the hateful comments, I'm not going to let any of that ignorance kill me from the inside out or just break my spirit, because I know who I am. I'm a child of God. I'm not going to find comfort in people's ignorance, but I'm not going to let it destroy me either. It's easier to just keep going and have pride in my uniqueness. It's easier to thrive. It's easier to find joy in myself. Of course, the social expectation really is that I am not going to thrive temporally or spiritually. I'm not held to many expectations at all because I'm a person with a disability. That has been the story my whole life. And then I go and do something, and then people are shocked. They're like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. And I'm like, I know that. Were you ever watching when I tried? It's sort of a game for me to try something and then watch as people are astonished when I don't necessarily fully succeed, but I at least learn something and absolutely enjoy myself by showing people that I can exceed the limited expectations that people place on me. The eyes and opinions of neurotypical people that try to shoot down my attempts to thrive at life, they don't really matter. They don't live my life. They aren't me. They are probably ignorant towards me and people like me because they're probably not happy with themselves. They probably don't know how to be happy with themselves. So they literally take it out on me. They're probably not happy with the fact that they're not doing well in life. So they take their anger out on me, and, I can't help but feel compassion for them. Like, when I was officially diagnosed with disabilities, I lost the love of my biological father. He was an alcoholic. He had problems. But I can't help but feel compassion for him because he was lost in the ignorance and the sickness that alcoholism and apathy and just pure exhaustion is, because it's exhausting. It's plain exhausting having children with disabilities, and anybody that can raise a child with disabilities. I give you 1,000,000% kudos, because being a child with a disability, having been a child with a disability, I can tell you that it is not easy to raise one. Anybody who chooses to do that, oh my God, you are fecking amazing. You're so amazing. You're so resilient. You've got a lot of inner strength. And God is going to smile on you for just taking on that responsibility, because it is a responsibility. It's a gift. It's a blessing. It's a challenge, but it's just a choice that you made. And, parents with disabilities, like, it's not an easy journey. There's a lot of struggle, but you will be blessed for making that choice to choose your child with a disability. Of course, not every story is as heartwarming as mine. Like, not every child with a disability turns out like this. Not every person with a disability has a good relationship with the parent that chose to keep them from the group home, but I commend anybody who chooses to make that choice, and even those who choose the other choice to just get their child more help than they can give to the child themselves. It's not easy to have a child with a disability. So anybody who has that opportunity in their life, because it is an opportunity to have a child with a disability. I mean, I don't even know if I can have children personally. I've got endometriosis and I'm on a bunch of medication for it. And I was officially diagnosed with that in 2017. And oh my God, that was like a huge just bucket of ice water dropped on me, because I had always dreamt of being a mother, and it just crashed. I felt like I had just gone through a huge mental crash to do that, because I was put on all this medication after medication after medication. And then all of a sudden, oh, my body doesn't want to do that. Like, I'm doing fine now. I'm on this medication, but to go off of the medication, I've been told will make me very sick. So I may not get to have a child. I don't know if I'll get to be a mother, but I've come to understand that there are other ways to influence children for good, and that there's adoption. But it just, when I first got diagnosed, I literally grieved it as if something had died, because I felt like it had. And it was like, there's one more way I'm a failure at life. Like, I already felt like I was failing at life because of my disabilities, and because of the fact that I wasn't able to meet all the expectations that life had placed upon me. But then to get diagnosed with endometriosis and be a religious person in a religion that emphasized the importance of families, oh my God. Just to be handed a diagnosis in which fertility might be an issue, it was like a piece of me had died. But then I came to understand God didn't look down on me. Christ definitely didn't look down on me. Christ actually atoned for me so that I would be able to still love myself despite having that challenge, and still see myself as a child of God, and still see myself as worthy of life and worthy of space on the earth, despite having those challenges. Like, y'all, if you are liking what I'm talking about, please show your love, by the way, because I see all of you liking it. Just show your love, be unafraid. Anyway, I looked at myself as a being with limited capacity, because I very much do have limited capacity between my neurodivergent conditions and my endometriosis. I very much am a being with limited capacity. And I had to relearn to encourage myself again. And it's taken a while. It's still taking a while, because this was only in 2017, and then COVID hit, and I was truly, truly alone, and I dealt with some pretty extreme cyberbullying that really reminded me that the empathy and the kindness towards people like me, people with disabilities, where it really doesn't exist. And I sort of had a bit of a breakdown then that just really taught me that I really needed to focus on rebuilding myself and focus on myself and my relationship with God, and just not so much worry about connecting with people and more about just connecting with myself and becoming whole with myself. And the right people would come along eventually. And so I began to take pride in my limited capacities and find joy in myself, in my gifts, in my talents, despite my limited capacities. And I learned to encourage myself to learn behavior that would help me to become better. And I started developing habits of encouraging others to learn behavior that might help them. It's not really effective, but because the thing is, a lot of people still don't expect me to make much of myself because I am a person with a disability. And a lot of people they still do not expect people with disabilities to do much. So I am not expected to do much. So I just focus on learning to love myself as I am, appreciate my capacity even though it is limited, and encouraging myself to learn behaviors that will help me to become better. You know, the thing about people with disabilities is that we are more apt and able to give love more freely because we see everyone as equally worthy of love. You know, we just look at people and see them as gifts from God. We see them as worthy of love and in need of love, and we just give it to them freely. We don't see anything wrong with them. We see them as beautiful gifts, and we just find joy in their existence, even if people without disabilities don't find joy in ours. We cannot and should not be afraid to give love, even if life isn't kind to us, even if others aren't kind to us. We should take a leaf from the book of people with disabilities, take a leaf from my book, and be unafraid to give love freely, and be unafraid to see everyone as equally worthy of love. Like Christ, he literally saw everyone as equally worthy of love and compassion. Sadly, though, very, very sadly, not everyone sees people with disabilities as worthy of time, as worthy of being caregivers. as worthy of being given love. You know, the love that people with disabilities freely give is often looked down on and laughed at. People with disabilities are often seen as jokes, nuisances, burdens, and overall unworthy of life and space on the earth, and it's quite tragic. They're ignored. They're dehumanized by politicians who have the power to give life unto society. But people with disabilities see everybody as beautiful human beings, all equally. But politicians, a lot of them see people with disabilities as the lowest class, unworthy of love, compassion, and basic human rights. And it's quite sad. As much love and compassion and generosity and grace as people with disabilities give, they are not given anything in return. They are given even less than they give. And society really just needs to change their outlook, their thoughts, their lack of grace towards people with disabilities. Society often sees people with disabilities as unworthy of love and life, and that's not fair. People with disabilities are people first. They are part of God's garden. We are part of God's garden. And you know what? People with disabilities are among the people that God and Christ appreciate the most, because they give love so freely despite life being so unkind to them. And yet I literally read in the news every day that society is just being so unkind about the existence of people with disabilities, as if they are unworthy of even a moment of space, even a moment of existence, even a moment of grace and kindness. And that needs to change. As I've said, for behold, the worth of souls is great in the sight of God, and it means all souls. And God's work and God's glory is to bring to pass the immortality and the eternal life of man. Immortality of all. Eternal life of all. God's work and glory is to bring to pass life for all. So shouldn't we want to do the same? Shouldn't we want to help all feel worthy of life? Because all are worthy of life. And shouldn't we all want to remember and promote the fact that the worth of all souls is great? The worth of my soul is great. And so is yours, and so is everyone. Disability does not mean inability. So don't diss the abilities that I have, and don't diss the abilities that anybody has, because all abilities matter. Love you all. Bye-bye.